This is NASCAR Pit Stop, and I'm Katie Copple. Thanks for tuning in. Let's start with some Jeff Gordon news. When you hear the name Jeff Gordon, what brand comes to mind? I'm fairly certain you just said DuPont. That DuPont paint has sponsored Jeff Gordon since he began running in NASCAR's highest tier back in 1992. News broke yesterday that DuPont has sold its paint business to the Carlyle Group, which will change the name of the products to Exalta Coating Systems. With the design and logo still being designed, you won't be seeing it on the number 24 until a few races into the season. Hendrick Motorsports said in a statement on Monday that the sale would not affect the company's continued support of its NASCAR efforts. Hendrick Motorsports owner Rick Hendrick said, quote, "People and relationships are important to our organization. These are the same folks who have spent more than two decades executing one of the most successful sponsorship programs in this sport." Driver of the number 24, Jeff Gordon, also released a statement saying, quote, we may have a new name on the 24 Chevrolet SS in 2013, but it's the same core group that I've enjoyed working with for more than 20 years. We've had success together on and off the track, and we plan to carry that success into the third decade. Gordon has accumulated 87 victories and 4 championships during his time in NASCAR's top tier and plans on continuing that success in 2013. And he did end the season on a high note in 2012, winning the Homestead Miami finale. So maybe he can start it off on a good note in 2013 with a win in Daytona. We will just have to wait and see. And it's time for some more NASCAR news right here on NASCAR Pit Stop, and this time we're talking about Sam Hornish Jr. 2012 was a season of ups and downs for Sam Hornish Jr., starting his 7th year with Penske Racing. This season, Hornish is patiently waiting for his turn to get back in the Sprint Cup Series. In 2008, Hornish took on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series head-on with a full schedule, with his best finish being 13th and losing the Rookie of the Year battle to Regan Smith. His debut was less than spectacular. 2009 and 2010 saw improvement in the Cup car, but not enough for Penske to keep him in NASCAR's top series. In 2011, he was moved to a partial Cup and partial Nationwide Series schedule. When 2012 came around, Hornish found himself the driver of the number 12 Alliance Truck Parts Dodge for Penske. His sole focus was to win the Nationwide Series championship, and he was going to do his best to do just that. Midway through this season, fate had other ideas. Hornish was called upon to take over the number 22 Pennzoil Shell Dodge for the rest of the season after A.J. Allmendinger failed a drug test. Hornish barely made it to the July Daytona race on time. They were driving him to his car during opening ceremonies. That's cutting it pretty close. So Hornish stepped up for the rest of the season, pulling double duty, even traveling from track to track when the Nationwide Series and Cup schedules weren't at the same place. Many thought that Hornish would inherit the ride full-time in 2013, but Penske had a different plan. They hired Joey Logano instead. After receiving the news that he wouldn't be in the 22, Hornish was sad but optimistic, saying, quote, I want to do things in the right way, and I feel like if we win this championship in 2013, it would be great. I feel like there is no reason we shouldn't be able to do that. Hornish and the number 12 team finished 4th in the Nationwide Series standings and are looking like strong contenders for the championship in 2013. So good luck to Sam and his team, and I hope to see him in a Cup ride this year. I know Penske was talking about trying to get him into a car for a few of the races, and I think that'd be really, really good for him. I think he could be a strong contender in that series with just a little more time. This is NASCAR Pit Stop, and I am Katie Copple. Thanks for tuning in. So back to some NASCAR news. Back in 2011, the catch can was eliminated from pit stops, leaving the gas man responsible for making changes to the car. NASCAR has decided to change the gas man's role yet again. Starting in 2013, the gas man can't make any adjustments on the car while he's fueling the car. The rule, written by NASCAR, states that the fuel handler must be in control of the fuel can at all times when fuel is being added to the car. The fuel handler will not be permitted to perform any adjustments or other pit stop procedures while the fuel can coupler is engaged with the car-mounted adapter. So, what does this mean for pit stops this season? I don't really think it will affect them too much at all. NASCAR teams are really, really smart when it comes to finding the quickest way to get their car off of pit road. But I guess we will have to wait until Daytona to find out. But seriously, I really don't think it's going to bother them much at all. Another addition to the NASCAR windshields this season, besides the last name, is the logos, manufacturing logos. Back in November when NASCAR announced that the drivers' names would appear at the top of the windshield, that was kind of cool. I was pretty excited for that. But on Tuesday, NASCAR President Mike Helton announced that the drivers' manufacturer logos will bookend the drivers' names as well. So Toyota, Chevy, Ford, I almost said Dodge there, but they're not in NASCAR any longer. Hopefully we see them back soon. But Mike Helton said, "We believe that this will help build the identity of the driver with the race car and their relationship with the manufacturer." Helton said during the Auto Week Racing Conference in Detroit, this change still only applies to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, as announced back in November. I am pretty darn excited for this new driver's name on the windshield. I mean, because some of those cars look really similar in some of those paint schemes, so this will be a lot easier to tell them apart. And then like the Busch brothers, I think Kyle Busch has Rowdy on his, and Kurt has Kurt Busch, his full name. So it'll be interesting to see what the drivers choose to put on their windshield.
That green and orange number 7, Danica Patrick.
And there is the new leader in qualifying, Danica Patrick.
This is going to be awesome!
Just a great performance by Danica Patrick.
Oh, he takes her out!
Come on.
She's all right after a hard crash.
Let's go racing, boys and Danica!
I still have a heck of a lot to learn, and I still am very, very much a rookie.
This is Danica's Diary right here on Fusion 93 KMSC. NASCAR Race Hub returned with an all-new hour-long show this Monday, and you can probably guess who their first guest was. That was a mouthful. Yep, that's right, none other than Danica Patrick. The driver of the number 10 GoDaddy.com Chevrolet for Stewart-Haas Racing begins her first full season in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series this year at Daytona. When Steve Burns asked her about the new car, she said that she thought the new car leveled the playing field a bit for her and fellow rookie driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Danica's crew chief Tony Gibson is also looking forward to working with Danica this season and watching her improve each weekend. Danica had this to say about him and their upcoming season on NASCAR Race Hub on Monday.
Everybody wants to win. We all want to go out there and win, but we know it's going to take time. And it's insulting to think that we just go out there and win. There are so many guys that have been around for a really long time that are incredible drivers. So we know it's going to be a process. It's nice that he has that attitude, and that trickles down to everybody. Everybody feels that, and they feel that patience and that, that sort of correct intention along the way. And so the most important thing is that there's progress being made throughout the year, and we'll just have to see where we start out. Of course, it's a little different when we have a new car. So, every year there's some unexpected fast cars, and you can't anticipate all that based on what people have done over the winter and learned. So we'll kind of see where we shake out when the first few races get done, and then we'll start to really put some numbers on things and say, okay, well, I think we should start to be practicing in this group, and then we should kind of be here in qualifying and here in the finishes. So we'll just take it from there.
When Danielle Trotta asked Danica what some of her favorite moments have been, Danica had a list that included her first ARCA race, finishing 4th in 2011, and also being pushed to the lead by Tony Stewart in Daytona. But when asked what her least favorite moment has been, the 2012 Daytona weekend topped that list. I mean, she crashed in the duels. That was a big one. She got the pole for the Nationwide Series. That was about the only upside to that weekend. Then she crashed out. Well, she got crashed out by her teammate in the draft during the Nationwide race, and then was involved in the, lap 2 crash that Jimmy Johnson started. So her Daytona weekend was not the greatest last year. So as we get closer to Daytona this year, let's just hope that this appearance is a lot better. And that will do it for this edition of Danica's Diary. Back to some Sprint Cup news. I took to Twitter earlier this week to see who fans predicted would win the Sprint Cup title this year. Yes, I know the season hasn't even started yet, but it's never too early to start thinking about it, right? Well, I received well over 150 responses, and quite a few of them actually surprised me. Jimmy Johnson was definitely one of the drivers whose name was mentioned a lot. Looking for his 6th championship win after coming so close last season, Johnson and his crew chief Chad Canals will definitely be on the hunt for that number 6. But then again, when are they not? Another driver whose name was brought up often was another Hendrick driver, Casey Kane. He had a strong showing last season with 2 wins, one of them being the Coca-Cola 600, which is really, really long race. So that's a really cool one to win. And he also made an appearance in the chase. I look for him to be red hot this season and a strong contender for the Cup. Matt Kenseth's name was also mentioned multiple times. Fans think that moving to a new team will be great for him, and he can take that 20 car to victory lane this season. It wouldn't really surprise me if he did. After missing the chase in 2012, Kyle Busch will be biting at the bit to get back into his winning ways. Other drivers like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Clint Bowyer, and Jeff Gordon were also mentioned multiple times. But one driver that wasn't mentioned at all, and believe me when I say that I sifted through these responses multiple times, but the reigning Sprint Cup champion Brad Keselowski wasn't even in a mention at all. Now, Brad won the championship in a Dodge, and he's driving a Ford this year. Will that make any difference on how he performs? I honestly don't think so. Penske Racing and with new driver Joey Logano, they're a strong enough team that they should be able to adapt to driving Fords pretty quickly. But it doesn't seem like all too many people think he can win the 2nd championship in a row. I wouldn't count him out in the future, for sure. I think he's going to be a powerful, powerful driver in the coming years. He just keeps improving. But as talented as he is, he might just surprise you. We all know that Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Danica Patrick are 2 of NASCAR's most popular and loved figures. Okay, Danica might not be NASCAR's most loved figure, but she's definitely one of the most polarizing. I mean, she has tons of fans. I being one of them, of course. One thing that really isn't talked about is who would be the most disliked driver. Well, Forbes released a list of the most disliked athletes today, and a NASCAR driver made that list. At number 8 was none other than Kurt Busch. Now, this isn't the first time the oldest Busch brother has been on that list. He was 10th on that list last year, so he actually moved up. Not sure if that's a good thing. In 2006, though, he was 3rd on GQ's list of most disliked athletes. So he's made some improvements. Kurt Busch definitely has some flaws when it comes to his attitude, but he really is trying to turn that around. After a rough season in 2012, I hope this Busch brother realizes that arguing isn't going to fix anything at all. Good news is, his new partnership with Furniture Row Racing is off to a great start. Look for this outlaw to be a contender in many races in the 2013 season. Well, that is it for this edition of NASCAR Pit Stop. If you have any suggestions or comments about the show or pretty much anything, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Katie_Copple. You know that little underscore sign? You get it. Anyway, and while you're at it, you follow Fusion 93 as well. Just search Fusion 93 KMSC. It is now 18 days until the Daytona 500, so hang in there. The beginning of the 2013 NASCAR season is right around the corner. Thankfully, this off-season is not fun. Thankfully, we have, testing and news conferences and, stuff like that to tide us over, but nothing compares to the cars on the track dueling it out for the win. This has been NASCAR Pit Stop. I'm Katie Copple, and you've been listening to Fusion 93 KMSC. Don't forget to tune in next week at 5 for the latest edition of NASCAR Pit Stop.